Welcome to an extraordinary journey, a voyage back in time to a civilization that has captivated the human imagination for millennia. Ancient Egypt. For the next 2 hours, I want to transport you, not just through dates and names, but into the very heart and soul of a society that rose from the desert sands, flourished for over 3,000 years, and left an indelible mark on the tapestry of human history. We'll explore the grandeur of their pharaohs, the monumental scale of their pyramids, the profound mysteries of their beliefs, and the intricate daily lives of a people who shaped the very foundations of civilization. Prepare to be immersed in a land of gods and kings, of unparalleled artistry and profound wisdom, a civilization that, even in its twilight, continued to inspire awe and wonder, its echoes still reverberating through our modern world. Before we embark on this incredible voyage, I have a small request, just a moment of your time. I'd love to know who's joining us on this historical adventure. Please take a moment to comment below. Where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? Your engagement truly helps this channel grow, and it's wonderful to see our global community of history lovers come together, united by a shared fascination with the past. And if you find yourself captivated by this deep dive into ancient Egypt, if you feel the pull of its ancient mysteries, if you learn something new and exciting, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future explorations into the annals of human civilization. Your support, your curiosity, makes these detailed historical narratives possible, allowing us to continue uncovering the incredible stories of our shared past. Now, let us begin our journey, not at the dawn of the pharaohs, but even earlier, in the fertile crescent of the Nile Valley, where the very seeds of this magnificent civilization were sown, long before the first stone was laid for a pyramid, long before the first hieroglyph was carved. Imagine, if you will, a vast, arid landscape stretching endlessly under a relentless sun. This is North Africa, a land of harsh deserts, seemingly inhospitable to sustained human settlement. But then, picture a singular, miraculous ribbon of life carving its way through this desolation, the Nile River. Unlike the unpredictable and often destructive rivers of Mesopotamia, the Nile was a benevolent and remarkably predictable force. Every year, from July to October, the river would swell, fed by the monsoon rains in Ethiopia and the melting snows of the Central African highlands, overflowing its banks and depositing rich, fertile silt across the floodplains. This annual inundation, known as the Akhet, was the heartbeat of this nascent civilization, a natural fertilization process that replenished the soil and ensured bountiful harvests. For millennia, nomadic hunter-gatherer groups roamed this region, following game and seasonal rains. But around 5000 BCE, a profound shift occurred, a change in climate that would forever alter the destiny of these peoples. The Sahara, once a greener, more hospitable land, began its inexorable process of desertification, pushing these nomadic communities towards the perennial, life-giving waters of the Nile. And here, along its banks, they found not just sustenance, but the perfect conditions for a revolutionary way of life, agriculture. This agricultural abundance was the bedrock upon which all future Egyptian grandeur would be built. It allowed for a burgeoning population, the development of specialized labor beyond mere subsistence, and the emergence of distinct cultural groups, each leaving behind unique archaeological signatures that tell us about their evolving societies, their ingenuity, and their growing complexity. One of the earliest of these was the Badarian culture, flourishing roughly between 4400 and 4000 BCE, primarily found in Upper Egypt. They are renowned for their exceptionally fine, ripple-surfaced pottery, often burnished to a lustrous sheen, demonstrating an early mastery of ceramic techniques that speaks of both skill and aesthetic appreciation. Their burial practices, with bodies typically placed in fetal positions, often wrapped in mats and accompanied by grave goods like ivory combs, flint tools, and small figurines, hint at early beliefs in an afterlife and a nascent social stratification. Even at this early stage, these communities were demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of their environment and a developing spiritual awareness, laying the groundwork for the complex religious beliefs that would define later Egyptian civilization. Their simple mud brick huts clustered together, forming the first true villages where communal life began to take shape, centered around the rhythm of the Nile. As these communities grew, they evolved into larger, more complex societies, notably the Naqada cultures, named after the archaeological site of Naqada, which provide a continuous sequence of development from approximately 4000 to 3100 BCE. The Naqada I period, also known as Amratian, from around 4000 to 3500 BCE, saw the rise of distinct settlements, often fortified, indicating increasing competition for resources and the need for defense. A sign that society was becoming more organized, but also more prone to conflict. Copper, though still rare, began to be used for tools and ornaments, signaling early metallurgical knowledge and the beginnings of a more advanced material culture. Artistic expression flourished, with pottery featuring geometric designs and early depictions of animals and human figures offering glimpses into their worldview and daily activities, from hunting to early forms of ritual. Burials became more elaborate, with larger grave pits and a wider array of offerings, suggesting a growing emphasis on the status of the deceased and the importance of their journey to the next world, a clear indication of developing social hierarchies. Naqada's second period, or Girzian, spanning roughly 3500 to 3200 BCE, marked a period of rapid technological and social advancement, often considered the true formative phase of Egyptian civilization. Pottery became even more sophisticated, featuring distinctive red-on-buff designs, often decorated with boats, animals, and human figures, providing invaluable insights into their daily life, religious beliefs, and burgeoning trade networks. These trade networks expanded dramatically, reaching as far as Mesopotamia for cylinder seals and lapis lazuli, and the Levant for timber and oils. This extensive trade facilitated the exchange of ideas and technologies, accelerating cultural development and introducing new concepts, such as the use of cylinder seals for administrative purposes. Crucially, during this period, we see the emergence of proto-states, powerful regional centers like Naqada, Hierakonpolis, and Abydos, each vying for dominance. Hierakonpolis, in particular, became a significant urban center, boasting impressive temples, large cemeteries, and compelling evidence of early kingship, including monumental tombs and ceremonial artifacts that foreshadow later pharaonic regalia, such as the earliest known depictions of the White Crown of Upper Egypt. The population grew, and social hierarchies became more pronounced, with elite burials containing richer grave goods, indicating a clear differentiation in status and the rise of powerful local leaders who commanded significant resources and labor. The Naqada III period, often called the Proto-Dynastic or Dynasty Zero, from approximately 3200 to 3100 BCE, was a crucible of unification. The competition between these proto-states intensified, leading to conflicts and ultimately the consolidation of power. The iconography of this period, seen on ceremonial palettes like the Narmer palette, vividly depicts the triumph of a king, often identified with Narmer, over his enemies, symbolizing the unification of Upper, Southern, and Lower, Northern Egypt. The Narmer palette, a ceremonial cosmetic palette, is a key artifact from this period, a powerful visual narrative of conquest and unification, showing King Narmer wearing the crowns of both Upper and Lower Egypt, smiting his enemies and inspecting decapitated foes. It is a foundational myth for the unified state, a visual declaration of a new political order, and one of the earliest historical documents from Egypt. This was not a single instantaneous event, but a gradual process, likely involving both military, conquest, and cultural assimilation, culminating in the establishment of a unified kingdom with a single ruler. This unification around 3100 BCE marks the true birth of dynastic Egypt, setting the stage for an unparalleled era of stability and grandeur. The foundations of Egyptian religion, with its pantheon of gods and goddesses and the concept of divine kingship, were firmly established during this dynamic pre-dynastic era, ready to blossom into a complex and enduring civilization, one that would define itself by its unity and its unique relationship with the divine. With the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt, the early dynastic period began, encompassing the first and second dynasties and laying the foundational administrative, religious, and artistic principles that would define Egyptian civilization for millennia. The capital was established at Memphis, strategically located at the junction of the two lands, symbolizing the newly forged unity and providing a central point for controlling the entire Nile Valley. Memphis, known as Inebhej, White Walls, became the administrative and religious heart of the nascent state, a bustling hub of power and ritual where the two lands truly met and where the pharaoh's authority was centralized. The kings of this period, such as Narmer or Menes, though his exact identity remains debated, and he might be a composite figure representing the unification, Horaha, Jer, Jet, Den, and Kwa of the First Dynasty, and Peribsen and Kasekemwi of the Second Dynasty, were not just rulers, they were seen as divine intermediaries, the living embodiment of Horus, the falcon god whose celestial presence was believed to guarantee the prosperity of the land. Their authority was absolute, and their primary role was to maintain Ma'at, the cosmic order, justice, and balance, ensuring the prosperity of Egypt and the favor of the gods. The concept of Ma'at was central to Egyptian thought, encompassing truth, justice, morality, and cosmic harmony. The pharaoh was the chief guardian of Ma'at, responsible for upholding it through his actions and rituals, ensuring the annual flooding of the Nile and the fertility of the land, and thus the very survival and well-being of his people. His word was law, his presence divine. The administrative machinery of the state began to take shape with remarkable speed and sophistication. A complex bureaucracy emerged, managing the vast resources of the unified kingdom. Officials were appointed to oversee irrigation projects, crucial for maximizing agricultural output, collect taxes in the form of grain, livestock, and labor, and organize labor for monumental construction and public works. The counting of cattle was an important biennial event for taxation purposes, demonstrating the state's meticulous record-keeping and its ability to extract resources from its populace. Writing in the form of hieroglyphs evolved from earlier pictographic signs into a sophisticated system, crucial for record-keeping, religious texts, monumental inscriptions, and administrative decrees. The Palermo stone, though fragmented, provides a valuable glimpse into the annals of these early kings, recording annual events, religious festivals, and the height of the Nile inundation, vital for agricultural planning and predicting the bounty of the land. This early writing system was complex, combining logograms, representing words, phonograms, representing sounds, and determinatives, clarifying meaning, and was primarily used by a specialized class of scribes who held significant power and prestige within the burgeoning state, acting as the backbone of the administration, their literacy a key to their status. Burial practices became increasingly elaborate, reflecting the growing belief in a complex afterlife and the king's pivotal role in it. The royal tombs at Abydos, particularly those of the First Dynasty kings, were massive mud brick mastabas, rectangular structures with sloping sides containing multiple chambers for the king, and often disturbing evidence of retainer sacrifices, where servants, courtiers, and animals, donkeys, dogs, were interred with the pharaoh to serve him in the next world. This practice thankfully faded out by the end of the First Dynasty, replaced by symbolic representations or figurines, shabtais, in later periods, indicating an evolution in funerary beliefs and practices, perhaps a more humane approach, or recognition of the economic cost of such sacrifices. The development of these tombs, with their intricate internal structures, storage chambers for grave goods and surrounding subsidiary burials, foreshadowed the architectural ambitions of the Old Kingdom. The earliest known use of dressed stone in architecture also appears in these royal tombs, albeit in limited quantities, hinting at the monumental future that awaited, a future built of stone and eternity. Art and craftsmanship flourished, demonstrating a rapid development in skill and aesthetic. Skilled artisans produced exquisite objects in stone, such as slate palettes, ceremonial mace heads, and finely carved stone vessels, some so thin they are almost translucent, ivory, figurines game pieces, and metal, copper tools, and weapons, demonstrating a mastery of materials and a keen aesthetic sense. The iconic imagery of the pharaoh smiting his enemies, the intertwined plants symbolizing the unification of the two lands, papyrus for Lower Egypt and lotus for Upper Egypt, and the serene stylized depictions of gods and goddesses began to solidify, forming a visual language that would endure for thousands of years. Royal iconography such as the double crown, Shent, the uraeus, the rearing cobra symbol of divine authority worn on the pharaoh's brow, and the various scepters, like the crook and flail, symbols of kingship and divine power, became standardized, reinforcing the pharaoh's divine authority and his role as the protector and provider for Egypt, a visual vocabulary understood by all. The Second Dynasty saw a period of internal strife, possibly a conflict between the followers of Horus and Seth, reflected in the changing royal titulary of kings like Peribsen, who adopted a Seth name instead of a Horus name. This suggests a period of religious or political tension, perhaps a struggle between different factions or regions, or even a civil war that threatened the fragile unity of the newly formed state. However, Khâsekhemoui, the last king of the Second Dynasty, managed to restore stability, adopting a unique titulary that incorporated both Horus and Seth, symbolizing reconciliation and renewed unity, a powerful statement of his ability to bring harmony to the land after a period of discord. His impressive tomb at Abydos, larger and more complex than his predecessors, marked the culmination of early dynastic funerary architecture and set the stage for the monumental achievements of the Old Kingdom. The foundations were now firmly laid for Egypt's first golden age, with a strong, centralized government, a sophisticated religious ideology, and a burgeoning artistic tradition ready to embark on an era of unparalleled construction and cultural flourishing. A true testament to the resilience of the Egyptian state. Now, let us turn our gaze to the period that defines ancient Egypt for so many, the Old Kingdom, spanning dynasties 3 through 6. This era, from approximately 2686 to 2181 BCE, is often hailed as Egypt's first golden age, a period of unparalleled prosperity, political stability, and monumental architectural achievement. It was an era when the concept of the pharaoh as a living god reached its zenith, and the resources of the entire kingdom were mobilized to construct eternal resting places for these divine rulers, ensuring their successful transition to the afterlife and the continued prosperity of Egypt. The sheer scale of these projects reflects the absolute power of the pharaoh and the highly organized nature of the state, a testament to human ambition and collective effort on a scale rarely seen before or since. The Third Dynasty began with King Djoser, whose reign marked a revolutionary leap in architecture. His vizier, the brilliant polymath Imhotep, conceived of a new type of royal tomb, the step pyramid at Saqqara. Instead of the traditional mud brick mastaba, Imhotep designed a colossal structure of dressed stone, a series of 6 mastabas stacked one upon another, rising majestically towards the heavens, a stairway to the stars for the deceased king, a physical manifestation of his ascent to the divine realm. This was not merely a tomb. It was a vast funerary complex, a monumental enclosure encompassing temples, courtyards, chapels, and subterranean passages, all designed to facilitate the king's journey to the afterlife and ensure his eternal reign. The step pyramid was the world's first monumental stone building, a testament to Imhotep's genius as an architect, engineer, and physician, and Djoser's ambition to create something truly unprecedented. Its construction required immense organization, skilled labor, and a sophisticated understanding of stonemasonry, marking a pivotal moment in architectural history, a true paradigm shift. The complex included a Hebsed court where the pharaoh could ritually renew his kingship, and a serdab, a sealed chamber containing a statue of Djoser through which his Ka life force could interact with the living, ensuring his eternal presence and the continuity of his rule. The Fourth Dynasty witnessed the pinnacle of pyramid building, an era of unprecedented engineering feats that continue to astound us today. King Sneferu, the first king of this dynasty, was a prolific builder, often credited with building more stone volume than any other pharaoh. He experimented with different pyramid designs, learning from each attempt. His pyramid at Medum, initially a step pyramid, was converted into a true pyramid, but suffered a partial collapse, a valuable lesson in structural integrity and the challenges of pioneering large-scale construction. His bent pyramid at Dashur, with its distinctive change in angle mid-construction, demonstrates the challenges and learning curve involved in these pioneering projects, likely due to structural issues encountered during building, forcing a change in design midway through construction. His red pyramid, also at Dashur, was the first true smooth-sided pyramid, a perfect geometric shape, marking a significant engineering triumph and setting the standard for future royal tombs. These experiments paved the way for his son, Khufu, to construct the most iconic structure in human history, the Great Pyramid of Giza. The Great Pyramid, along with those of Khufu's son Khafre, which includes the Great Sphinx, a colossal statue, carved from a single outcrop of rock guarding the pyramid complex, embodying the pharaoh's power and divine connection, with the face believed to be that of Khafre himself, a timeless sentinel, and grandson Menkaure, stands as an enduring symbol of ancient Egypt. These colossal structures, built with millions of precisely cut stone blocks, some weighing many tons, are a testament to the organizational capabilities, astronomical knowledge, and sheer determination of the Old Kingdom Egyptians. They were not built by slaves, as popular myth suggests, but by skilled craftsmen, engineers, laborers, and farmers who worked on the pyramids during the annual Nile inundation when agricultural work was impossible. These workers were organized into highly efficient teams, provided with food, shelter, and medical care in purpose-built villages near the sites, demonstrating a sophisticated logistical system and a deep commitment to the pharaoh's eternal well-being. The pyramids were not just tombs, they were cosmic machines, designed to elevate the pharaoh's soul to the stars, ensuring the continuity of the divine order and the prosperity of Egypt. Each pyramid complex included a valley temple, a causeway, connecting it to a mortuary temple at the base of the pyramid, all integral to the pharaoh's funerary cult and his eternal journey, a vast landscape of sacred architecture designed to facilitate his transition to the afterlife and his eternal reign. During the Old Kingdom, the pharaoh's power was absolute. He was the supreme ruler, the chief priest, and the commander-in-chief, believed to be the son of Ra, the sun god. and the living manifestation of Horus. The state religion revolved around the pharaoh's divinity and his role as the mediator between humanity and the gods. The pyramid texts inscribed on the walls of later Old Kingdom pyramids, starting with Unas of the 5th dynasty, are the oldest known religious texts in the world, providing spells and incantations to assist the deceased king in his journey through the afterlife, ensuring his resurrection and eternal life among the stars, and his ability to join the imperishable stars, the circumpolar stars that never set, symbolizing eternal existence and cosmic order. These texts are a window into the earliest formalized Egyptian cosmology and funerary beliefs. Society was highly stratified, with the pharaoh at the apex, followed by a powerful elite of viziers, the chief minister, often the most powerful official. After the pharaoh, responsible for the entire administration from justice to treasury. Nomarchs, provincial governors who administered the nomes or provinces, acting as the pharaoh's local representatives. Priests, who managed the vast temple estates and performed rituals holding immense economic and spiritual power. And scribes, who held significant power through their literacy and administrative roles, forming the backbone of the bureaucracy, meticulously recording everything from grain harvests to court decrees. The vast majority of the population consisted of farmers, craftsmen, and laborers, who provided the agricultural surplus and labor for the state's ambitious projects, their lives inextricably linked to the rhythm of the Nile and the demands of the state. The administration was highly centralized, with a complex bureaucracy managing the kingdom's resources, including vast agricultural lands, quarries for stone and precious metals, and extensive trade routes. Egypt engaged in extensive trade with Nubia to the south for gold, ivory, ebony, and exotic goods, and with the Levant for timber, especially cedar from Byblos, and other raw materials crucial for the construction projects and the luxury goods desired by the elite, demonstrating a sophisticated economic system and early international relations. Art and sculpture of the Old Kingdom are characterized by their formality, idealism, and monumental scale. Statues of pharaohs and nobles were often rigid and frontal, designed to convey timelessness, divine authority, and eternal presence, meant to last for eternity and serve as vessels for the Ka. Reliefs depicted scenes of daily life, agriculture, and religious rituals, providing invaluable insights into the society and its beliefs, from the sowing of seeds to the offering of sacrifices. The mastaba tombs of nobles, particularly at Saqqara and Giza, were adorned with vibrant painted reliefs depicting scenes of daily life, farming, hunting, fishing, and feasting, intended to magically provide for the deceased in the afterlife, ensuring their eternal sustenance and enjoyment, a vivid snapshot of their world and their aspirations for eternity. However, by the end of the 6th dynasty, the centralized power of the pharaoh began to wane, leading to the collapse of the Old Kingdom. Several interconnected factors contributed to this decline. Increased power of nomarchs. The provincial governors, initially appointed by the pharaoh, began to establish hereditary rule over their nomes, provinces. They accumulated wealth and power, built their own elaborate tombs, and became less dependent on the central government, effectively creating regional power bases that challenged royal authority, diverting resources and loyalty away from the crown, leading to a gradual decentralization of power. Economic strain. The immense resources poured into pyramid building and maintaining the royal cult for centuries may have strained the kingdom's economy. While the pyramids were built by organized labor, the sheer scale of the projects and the continuous maintenance of the associated cults required continuous resource allocation that may have become unsustainable, leading to financial exhaustion and a depletion of state coffers. Environmental factors. A series of low Nile floods, possibly due to climate change, a global aridification event that affected many ancient civilizations, could have led to widespread famine and social unrest. A diminished inundation meant less fertile land, lower crop yields, and widespread hunger, further weakening the central authority's ability to provide for its people and maintain order, leading to a breakdown of trust between ruler and ruled. Longevity of Pepi II. The exceptionally long reign of Pepi II, over 90 years, may have led to a succession crisis and a weakening of central control as the king aged and his authority diminished, allowing powerful officials and nomarchs to consolidate their positions and act more independently, creating a power vacuum at the center that no single successor could effectively fill. The Old Kingdom ended not with a bang, but with a gradual fragmentation of power. The once unified kingdom splintered into numerous independent nomes, each ruled by its own nomarch, leading to a period of decentralization and instability. This marked the beginning of the First Intermediate Period, a stark contrast to the grandeur that preceded it, a testament to the fragility of even the most powerful states when internal and external pressures combine, and a reminder that even the most enduring civilizations can face periods of profound crisis. The First Intermediate Period, encompassing dynasties 7 through 10 and sometimes parts of Dynasty 11, is often described as a dark age in Egyptian history. The centralized authority of the Old Kingdom pharaohs collapsed, leading to political fragmentation, social upheaval, and a period of relative chaos. However, it was also a time of significant cultural and religious transformation, laying the groundwork for the resurgence of the Middle Kingdom, demonstrating the adaptability and resilience of Egyptian society in the face of adversity, a period of creative ferment amidst the turmoil. With the weakening of the central government in Memphis, the nomarchs, who had grown increasingly powerful during the late Old Kingdom, asserted their independence. Egypt effectively broke into numerous, smaller autonomous states, each controlling its own nome. These local rulers built their own tombs, maintained their own armies, and often engaged in conflicts with neighboring nomes, vying for resources and territory. The Nile, once the unifying artery of the kingdom, now flowed through a patchwork of competing mini-states, each with its own local administration and cults. Travel and trade became more dangerous, and the grand irrigation projects that had sustained the Old Kingdom likely fell into disrepair in some regions, exacerbating food shortages and leading to widespread suffering and a general decline in living standards for many. Evidence from this period, particularly literary texts known as lamentations or admonitions, paints a vivid, albeit exaggerated, picture of widespread distress. Texts like the admonitions of Ipuwer describe a world turned upside down, the poor becoming rich, the rich becoming poor, social order dissolving, and widespread famine, violence, and lawlessness. The prophecy of Neferti similarly laments the chaos and longs for a strong king to restore order, reflecting a deep yearning for the stability of the past. While these texts are likely exaggerated for literary effect, designed to highlight the importance of a strong central ruler, they reflect a genuine sense of crisis and a longing for the stability and prosperity of the past. They speak of the breakdown of Ma'at, the cosmic order, and the suffering that ensued when the pharaoh's authority was diminished, leading to a world where the land spins like a potter's wheel, where the river is blood and laughter has perished. Despite the political fragmentation and social unrest, this period was not entirely one of decline. Artistic styles became more regional, less constrained by the rigid, centralized conventions of the Old Kingdom. Local workshops flourished, producing distinctive pottery, stelae, funerary slabs, and funerary objects. While the quality of royal art might have declined, there was a burst of creativity at the local level, with artisans experimenting with new forms and expressions reflecting local tastes and traditions, leading to a more diverse artistic landscape and a greater emphasis on individual expression. Crucially, the focus of religious belief also broadened and became more democratized. While the pharaoh's divinity remained important, the concept of the afterlife became more accessible to commoners. What were once royal prerogatives, such as access to the pyramid texts, spells to ensure the king's journey to the afterlife, now became available to non-royal individuals through the coffin texts. These spells, inscribed on the wooden coffins of nobles and wealthy commoners, provided guidance and protection for the deceased in the underworld, ensuring their successful journey and resurrection. This shift reflected a growing emphasis on individual piety and a more personal relationship with the gods, as individuals sought to secure their own eternal well-being without direct reliance on the pharaoh's intercession. The god Osiris, lord of the underworld and judge of the dead, gained increasing prominence during this period, becoming a central figure in the popular understanding of the afterlife, offering hope to all who lived righteously regardless of their social standing. A profound democratization of religious belief. Two main power centers emerged during this period, eventually leading to a direct confrontation for control of Egypt: the Heracleopolitan kings, dynasties 9 and 10, located in Middle Egypt, attempted to reassert control over the entire country, claiming the pharaonic title and attempting to restore order. However, their authority was largely confined to the north and parts of Middle Egypt, and they struggled to maintain stability even within their own sphere, facing constant challenges from rival nomarchs and a lack of widespread legitimacy. In Upper Egypt, a powerful line of nomarchs, the Intef family, ruling from Thebes, gradually expanded their influence, consolidating control over southern Egypt. They established a strong regional base, building up their military and administrative capabilities, and eventually challenging the Heracleopolitan rulers for supremacy, seeing themselves as the true liberators and unifiers of Egypt, destined to restore the land to its former glory. The conflict between Heracleopolis and Thebes escalated into a full-blown civil war, a struggle for the soul of Egypt, a period of intense internal conflict. The Theban rulers, particularly Mentuhotep II, proved to be the more formidable force. After decades of intermittent warfare, which saw shifting alliances and numerous battles, Mentuhotep II finally defeated the Heracleopolitan kings, reunifying Egypt under his rule. This momentous event around 2055 BCE marked the end of the First Intermediate Period and the glorious beginning of the Middle Kingdom, a period of renewed stability, cultural flourishing, and a more nuanced understanding of kingship. The lessons learned from the chaos and fragmentation of the Intermediate Period would profoundly shape the ideology and administration of the new unified state, leading to a more resilient and adaptable form of governance, one that recognized the importance of both central authority and regional cooperation, a balance that would define this new golden age. The Middle Kingdom, encompassing dynasties 11 and 12, is often regarded as a classical age of Egyptian civilization, characterized by a resurgence of centralized power, a flourishing of literature and art, and significant territorial expansion. It was a period of introspection and innovation, where the lessons of the First Intermediate Period profoundly influenced the nature of kingship and governance, leading to a more pragmatic and responsible approach to rule, a pharaoh who was not just a god, but also a shepherd of his people, burdened by the weight of his responsibilities. The reunification of Egypt was achieved by Mentuhotep II of the 11th dynasty. His reign marked a pivotal moment, as he not only restored political unity, but also initiated a cultural renaissance. His mortuary complex at Deir el-Bahari, a unique terraced structure built into the cliffs, was a departure from Old Kingdom pyramid complexes and served as an architectural inspiration for later New Kingdom pharaohs like Hatshepsut. It symbolized the new era, blending traditional elements with innovative design, reflecting a renewed sense of national identity and purpose, a monument to reunification, and a new architectural vision. The 12th dynasty, founded by Amenemhat I, truly solidified the Middle Kingdom's power and prosperity. Amenemhat I, originally a vizier who seized power, moved the capital from Thebes to a new city called It-Tawi, Caesar of the Two Lands, near the Fayum oasis, to better control both Upper and Lower Egypt and to be closer to the fertile agricultural lands of the Fayum. This strategic move allowed for more efficient administration of the entire country, demonstrating a pragmatic approach to governance. This dynasty produced a line of strong and capable rulers, including Senusret I, Amenemhat II, Senusret II, Senusret III, and Amenemhat III. These pharaohs were known for their administrative acumen, their focus on internal development, and their military prowess. They often employed co-regencies, where the reigning pharaoh appointed his successor as a junior co-ruler, to ensure a smooth transition of power and prevent the kind of succession crises that plagued earlier periods, a clever political innovation that brought stability to the succession. Unlike the Old Kingdom pharaohs, who were seen as remote, divine beings, Middle Kingdom pharaohs adopted a more nuanced image. They were still divine, but they were also portrayed as the good shepherd of their people, responsible for their welfare, protection, and the maintenance of Ma'at. This shift is reflected in the literature of the period, which often explores themes of royal responsibility, justice, and the challenges and burdens of leadership. Royal statues from this period often depict pharaohs with more human, sometimes weary, expressions, emphasizing their role as burdened protectors rather than purely idealized gods, a subtle but significant change in royal iconography that made the pharaoh more relatable, yet still awe-inspiring, a leader who understood the struggles of his people. The Middle Kingdom is renowned for its literary masterpieces, often considered the classical period of Egyptian literature, characterized by sophisticated language and complex narratives that delve into human experience and moral dilemmas. Texts like the story of Sinuhe, an epic tale of an Egyptian courtier's adventures abroad and his eventual return, offer profound insights into Egyptian values, geography, foreign relations, and the concept of home and belonging, a timeless narrative of exile and redemption that explores themes of identity and destiny. The tale of the eloquent peasant explores themes of justice, social equity, and the power of rhetoric, as a peasant eloquently pleads his case against a corrupt official, highlighting the importance of legal recourse, even for commoners, and the ideal of justice in society, a powerful statement on the rule of law. The instruction of Amenemhat provides a cynical yet pragmatic view of kingship, warning his son of the dangers of power and the loneliness of leadership, reflecting the anxieties of a ruler who had to fight to unify the land, a stark contrast to the divine serenity of Old Kingdom pharaohs, revealing the personal cost of kingship. These works demonstrate a sophistication of language, narrative, and psychological depth previously unseen, reflecting a more introspective and complex society. Art and architecture also underwent significant developments, while monumental building continued, with pyramids, though smaller and often built of mud brick with stone casing, still being constructed. There was a greater emphasis on rock-cut tombs for nobles, particularly in places like Beni Hassan and Kau el-Kebir. These tombs were adorned with vibrant painted scenes of daily life, agriculture, hunting, wrestling, military exercises, and foreign trade, providing invaluable insights into the lives of the elite and commoners, a rich tapestry of their world, depicting everything from acrobats to foreign dignitaries. Royal sculpture, while still idealized, often depicted pharaohs with more human features, showing signs of age, concern, or determination, further emphasizing their role as responsible rulers rather than purely divine beings. Jewelry from this period is particularly exquisite, showcasing masterful craftsmanship in gold, lapis lazuli, carnelian, and other precious stones often found in the tombs of royal women, demonstrating the wealth and artistic skill of the era. With intricate designs and vibrant colors, economically, the Middle Kingdom was a period of great prosperity and strategic resource management. Extensive irrigation projects, particularly in the Fayum oasis, expanded arable land and significantly increased agricultural output, providing a stable food supply and economic surplus, the lifeblood of the state. Trade flourished with expeditions sent to Punt, modern-day Eritrea, Somalia, for incense, myrrh, exotic animals, and timber, and to Nubia for gold, copper, diorite, and other valuable minerals. The pharaohs of the 12th dynasty actively campaigned in Nubia, establishing a series of formidable mud brick fortresses along the Nile, such as Buhan and Semna, to protect trade routes, control valuable resources, and secure Egypt's southern border. These fortresses were not just military outposts, but also administrative centers, controlling the flow of goods and people. This expansion into Nubia marked Egypt's first true imperialistic ventures, driven by economic necessity and a desire for security, laying the groundwork for the vast empire of the New Kingdom. However, like all golden ages, the Middle Kingdom eventually faced challenges. The later kings of the 12th dynasty, such as Amenemhat IV and Sobeknefru, the first confirmed female pharaoh to rule independently, a rare occurrence, had shorter reigns, suggesting a period of instability or dynastic weakness. The 13th dynasty, which followed, saw a rapid succession of weak kings, many with very short reigns, leading to a gradual decline in central authority. The powerful nomarchs, though initially brought under control by the strong 12th dynasty pharaohs, began to reassert their regional power, and the centralized administration started to unravel, leading to a familiar pattern of fragmentation and internal strife. This internal weakening coincided with external pressures. Semitic-speaking peoples from the Near East, often referred to as the Hyksos, rulers of foreign lands, had been migrating into the Nile Delta for centuries, initially as traders, pastoralists and laborers attracted by Egypt's wealth and fertile lands. As central authority waned, these groups, particularly those centered around the city of Avaris in the eastern delta, grew in power and influence. Their superior military technology, including the composite bow, advanced bronze metallurgy, and, crucially, the horse-drawn chariot, gave them a decisive advantage over the traditional Egyptian infantry, which relied on simpler bows and axes, making them a formidable military force. By the mid-17th century BCE, the Hyksos had established their own dynasty, the 15th dynasty, controlling much of Lower Egypt. This marked the beginning of the Second Intermediate Period, a time when Egypt was once again divided, and for the first time in its long history, a significant portion of its territory was ruled by foreign invaders, a deeply humiliating experience for the Egyptians, one that would forever change their outlook on foreign policy and national security. The Second Intermediate Period, encompassing dynasties 13 through 17, represents another fragmented and tumultuous chapter in Egyptian history. It was a time when the unified kingdom of the Middle Kingdom fractured, and a significant portion of Egypt fell under foreign domination, specifically that of the Hyksos. This period, however, also sowed the seeds for a powerful resurgence, leading to the glorious New Kingdom, as the experience of foreign rule galvanized native Egyptian resistance and led to a profound transformation in military strategy and national identity, forging a new, more aggressive spirit. The 13th dynasty, which immediately followed the powerful 12th dynasty, saw a rapid succession of kings, many with very short reigns. This instability led to a gradual erosion of central authority. While these kings nominally ruled all of Egypt, their effective control diminished, particularly in the fertile and strategically important Nile Delta, where foreign populations had been settling for generations, gradually increasing their numbers and influence, forming a significant demographic presence and eventually a political power base. It was into this power vacuum that the Hyksos, a group of Semitic-speaking peoples from the Near East, likely from the Levant, rose to prominence. They had been migrating into the eastern Nile Delta for centuries, initially as traders, pastoralists, and laborers, attracted by Egypt's prosperity. As the 13th dynasty weakened, the Hyksos centered around their capital Avaris, modern Tel el-Daba, consolidated their power and established the 15th dynasty. They effectively controlled Lower Egypt, from the delta southwards to Middle Egypt, and exerted influence over much of the rest of the country through tribute and alliances, becoming the dominant power in the north. The Hyksos brought with them significant technological innovations that would revolutionize Egyptian warfare and industry. They introduced the horse and chariot, a fast and powerful military platform that allowed for rapid maneuver and devastating charges, fundamentally changing the nature of ancient warfare. They also brought the composite bow, a more powerful and accurate weapon than the simple bows traditionally used by the Egyptians, capable of greater range and penetration. Furthermore, they introduced advanced bronze metallurgy, leading to stronger daggers, swords, and body armor, giving them a distinct military advantage over the traditional Egyptian forces. While initially seen as invaders, the Hyksos adopted many aspects of Egyptian culture, including their titles, administrative practices, and even some religious beliefs, demonstrating a degree of cultural assimilation. They presented themselves as legitimate pharaohs, building temples and commissioning monuments in the Egyptian style, attempting to integrate into the existing framework of Egyptian kingship, even adopting Egyptian names and epithets. During this period, Egypt was effectively divided into three main spheres of influence. The Hyksos, 15th dynasty, ruling from Avaris, controlled the delta and much of Middle Egypt, maintaining a powerful military and economic base. They were the dominant force in the north, establishing a new political order and a new capital. The Theban rulers, 17th dynasty, in Upper Egypt, a line of native Egyptian rulers, maintained their independence, ruling from Thebes. They were often vassals of the Hyksos, paying tribute, but they harbored deep ambitions of expelling the foreigners and reunifying Egypt under native rule. They saw themselves as the legitimate heirs to the pharaonic tradition and the true guardians of Egyptian identity, fostering a strong sense of national resistance and cultural purity. To the south, the powerful Nubian kingdom of Kerma expanded, its territory controlling parts of Lower Nubia and even some southern Egyptian nomes. The Kerma rulers were often allied with the Hyksos against Thebes, creating a strategic pincer movement that threatened the Theban state from both north and south, forcing the Thebans to fight on two fronts and making their struggle for reunification even more challenging, a complex geopolitical landscape. The Theban 17th dynasty became the focal point of resistance, a beacon of Egyptian nationalism and a symbol of hope. Kings like Seqenenretau, known as the Brave, Kamoa, and finally Ahmose I, spearheaded the struggle against the Hyksos. Seqenenretau is believed to have died in battle against the Hyksos, his mummy showing severe head wounds consistent with Hyksos weaponry, a testament to his direct involvement in the conflict and his sacrifice for Egypt, becoming a martyr for the cause of liberation. His successor, Kamose, launched aggressive campaigns against Avaris, pushing the Hyksos back. His stelae vividly describe his determination to rid Egypt of the Asiatics and his military successes, though he died before achieving complete victory, leaving the final triumph to his younger brother, a legacy of unfinished business. The final expulsion of the Hyksos was achieved by Ahmose I, Kamose's younger brother. Ahmose launched a decisive campaign, besieging Avaris and eventually driving the Hyksos out of Egypt and pursuing them into southern Palestine, besieging their stronghold at Sharuhen for several years to prevent their return and ensure Egypt's security. This victory, around 1550 BCE, marked the end of the Second Intermediate Period and the beginning of the New Kingdom, a period of unprecedented imperial expansion, wealth, and cultural flourishing. The experience of foreign rule instilled in the Egyptians a strong desire for national security and a proactive foreign policy, leading to the creation of an empire that would stretch far beyond the traditional borders of the Nile Valley. The military innovations adopted from the Hyksos, particularly the chariot, the composite bow, and improved bronze weaponry, would become central to Egypt's new imperial might, transforming its army into a formidable fighting force capable of conquering vast territories and establishing a vast empire, ensuring that Egypt would never again fall prey to foreign invaders, a lesson learned through bitter experience. The New Kingdom, encompassing dynasties 18, 19, and 20, represents the zenith of Egyptian power, wealth, and international influence. Having expelled the Hyksos, the pharaohs of this era adopted an aggressive, imperialistic foreign policy, transforming Egypt into a vast empire that stretched from Nubia in the south to the Euphrates River in the north. This was a period of monumental building projects, unparalleled artistic achievement, and the reigns of some of Egypt's most famous and powerful pharaohs. The capital was largely centered at Thebes, which became a city of immense religious and political importance, adorned with colossal temples dedicated to the state god Amun-Ra, reflecting the immense wealth flowing into Egypt from its imperial conquests and the growing power of the Amun priesthood, a true city of golden gods. The 18th dynasty, from approximately 1550 to 1295 BCE, laid the foundation of this empire and witnessed a period of profound religious upheaval. Ahmose Rai, the founder of the 18th dynasty, completed the expulsion of the Hyksos and began the process of reunifying and reorganizing Egypt. He established a professional standing army equipped with the new military technologies adopted from the Hyksos, such as the chariot and composite bow, transforming Egypt into a military superpower. He also re-established trade routes and began the reconstruction of temples and infrastructure, damaged during the intermediate period, restoring stability and prosperity to the land, laying the groundwork for the imperial age. His successors continued this expansion. Amenhotep I consolidated control over Nubia, securing its valuable gold mines, the source of much of Egypt's wealth. Thutmose I campaigned deep into Nubia, solidifying Egyptian control over its gold mines, and even reached the Euphrates in Syria, marking Egypt's furthest northern expansion and establishing its presence in the Near East, a truly global power. He was the first pharaoh to be buried in the Valley of the Kings, a hidden necropolis designed to protect royal tombs from robbers, a departure from the visible pyramids of earlier eras, hoping to secure eternal rest for himself and his treasures. Perhaps one of the most intriguing and controversial figures of this dynasty was Hatshepsut, a powerful female pharaoh. Initially ruling as regent for her young stepson Thutmose III, she eventually assumed full pharaonic titles depicted with traditional male regalia, including a false beard, and using male pronouns in inscriptions to legitimize her unconventional rule, a bold assertion of power in a male-dominated society. Her reign was marked by peace and prosperity, focusing on extensive trade expeditions, most famously to the land of Punt, bringing back exotic goods, incense, and even live trees for her temple gardens, a testament to her economic vision and diplomatic skill, and monumental building projects, including her magnificent terraced mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahari, a stunning architectural masterpiece that harmonizes with the surrounding cliffs, a truly unique monument that still stands today. After her death, Thutmose III, perhaps out of resentment, political necessity, or a desire to erase her unconventional reign and reinforce male succession, systematically defaced her monuments and removed her name from official records, a practice known as damnatio memoriae, though her legacy could not be entirely erased, and her story continues to fascinate us. Thutmose III, often called the Napoleon of Egypt for his military genius, became one of Egypt's greatest warrior pharaohs. He led numerous military campaigns into the Near East, crushing rebellions by Canaanite city-states and the Mitanni kingdom, and establishing Egyptian dominance over a vast empire. His victory at the Battle of Megiddo, a brilliant strategic maneuver involving a daring march through a narrow pass, secured control over the Levant and established Egypt as the preeminent power in the region. He brought immense wealth back to Egypt in the form of tribute and plunder, which was poured into the construction of grand temples, particularly at Karnak and Luxor, dedicated to the state god Amun-Ra, making Thebes a city of unparalleled splendor and a testament to imperial might. His annals, inscribed on the walls of Karnak, provide detailed accounts of his campaigns, showcasing his meticulous planning and military prowess, a true military genius whose strategies are still studied today. The empire reached its peak under Amenhotep III, whose reign was characterized by unprecedented wealth, luxury, and diplomatic relations with other great powers of the Near East, Babylonia, Assyria, Mitanni, Hittites, as evidenced by the Amarna letters, a trove of diplomatic correspondence written on clay tablets, revealing a complex web of international diplomacy and royal marriages, a true ancient world order where Egypt was at the center. He focused on lavish building projects, including his colossal mortuary temple, of which only the Colossi of Memnon remain, and significant additions to Luxor Temple, creating a truly magnificent landscape of temples and monuments. His reign was a period of peace and artistic refinement, often considered a high point of Egyptian art, characterized by a softer, more elegant style, reflecting the opulence and sophistication of his court. However, the most revolutionary and controversial pharaoh of this dynasty was Akhenaten, originally Amenhotep IV. He initiated a radical religious reform, abandoning the traditional polytheistic worship of numerous gods, particularly the powerful cult of Amun, in favor of a monotheistic-like devotion to the Aten, the sun disk, as the sole supreme deity. He moved the capital from Thebes to a new purpose-built city, Akhetaten, modern Amarna, and commissioned a new, more naturalistic and expressive art style that broke dramatically with centuries of rigid tradition, depicting the royal family. With elongated features and in intimate domestic scenes, a stark departure from the idealized forms of earlier periods, reflecting his unique vision and personal devotion. His religious revolution, however, was deeply unpopular with the powerful Amun priesthood and many segments of society, who saw it as a heresy and a threat to the established order, leading to widespread unrest and a weakening of Egypt's international standing as he neglected foreign affairs in favor of his religious pursuits. A period of internal turmoil and external neglect. After Akhenaten's death, his young successor, Tutankhamun, originally Tutankhaten, guided by powerful advisors like Ayen-Horemheb, reversed the Atenist reforms, restoring the traditional gods and moving the capital back to Thebes. Tutankhamun's reign was relatively short and unremarkable in its time, but his nearly intact tomb, discovered by Howard Carter in 1922, provided an unparalleled glimpse into the wealth, artistry, and funerary practices of the New Kingdom, making him one of the most famous pharaohs today. The treasures found within his tomb, including his iconic golden burial mask, are among the most recognizable artifacts from ancient Egypt, offering a window into the opulence of the pharaohs and the beliefs surrounding the afterlife. A truly astonishing discovery that brought ancient Egypt to life for the modern world. The dynasty concluded with Horemheb, a general who seized the throne, further consolidating the restoration of traditional religion and order, systematically dismantling Akhenaten's monuments and paving the way for the next powerful dynasty, the Ramessides, ensuring a return to orthodoxy and stability after the Amarna heresy. The 19th dynasty, from approximately 1295 to 1186 BCE, was known as the Ramesside era, dominated by the colossal figure of Ramesses II, often known as Ramesses the Great. His reign, lasting an astonishing 66 years, was a period of immense power, military prowess, and monumental construction, leaving an indelible mark on the Egyptian landscape that is still visible today, a testament to his ambition and longevity. Ramesses II was a formidable warrior, determined to restore Egypt's prestige in the Near East, which had waned somewhat after the Amarna period. His most famous military engagement was the Battle of Kadesh, c. to 1274 BCE, against the Hittite Empire, one of the largest chariot battles in history, involving thousands of chariots and tens of thousands of infantry, a clash of titans? While both sides claimed victory, the battle ultimately led to the world's first recorded peace treaty, a landmark diplomatic achievement that established a long-lasting alliance between Egypt and the Hittites, ushering in a period of relative peace in the Near East and demonstrating the power of diplomacy over endless warfare. Ramesses II was also an unparalleled builder. He commissioned more temples, monuments, and colossal statues than almost any other pharaoh. His grand projects include the Ramesseum, his magnificent mortuary temple, a vast complex of courtyards and halls, the colossal rock-cut temples at Abu Simbel, dedicated to himself and his chief queen Nefertari, carved directly into the sandstone cliffs, later famously relocated to save them from the Aswan Dam, a modern engineering marvel that preserved ancient heritage, and significant additions to the Karnak and Luxor temple complexes, including the massive hypostyle hall at Karnak, a forest of towering columns that still inspires awe and wonder. He also founded a new capital in the Delta, Pi-Ramesses, House of Ramesses, a strategic location for managing his empire and launching military campaigns into the Levant. His legacy is literally carved into the landscape of Egypt, with his name appearing on countless monuments, often usurping those of earlier pharaohs, a testament to his desire for eternal fame and self-aggrandizement, a pharaoh who wanted his name to echo through eternity. His successors, including Merneptah, who famously recorded the earliest known mention of Israel on his victory stela, the Merneptah stele detailing his campaigns in Canaan, providing a crucial external reference to early Israelite history, and Seti II struggled to maintain the vast empire against growing external threats, such as the Libyans and the enigmatic Sea Peoples, and internal dissent, signaling the beginning of a slow decline as the strains of empire began to show and the resources became stretched thin. The 20th dynasty, from approximately 1186 to 1070 BCE, saw a gradual decline in Egypt's imperial power and internal stability, marking the beginning of the end for the new kingdom. Ramesses III, the most significant pharaoh of this dynasty, faced immense challenges. He successfully repelled invasions by the Sea Peoples, a confederation of maritime raiders who devastated much of the eastern Mediterranean, including the Hittite Empire and Mycenaean Greece, causing widespread collapse of Bronze Age civilizations. His mortuary temple at Medinet Habu vividly depicts these epic battles, showing the Sea People's distinctive horned helmets and their land and sea attacks, providing invaluable historical records of this tumultuous period, a testament to his military prowess. He also fought off repeated Libyan incursions from the west. However, these wars, though victorious, drained Egypt's resources and weakened its economy, leaving it vulnerable to internal decay and external pressures. Following Ramesses III, Waitikam succession of weaker pharaohs, all named Rameses IV through Sephinth, ruled over a kingdom increasingly plagued by internal problems, economic decline, inflation, corruption, and a decline in foreign trade due to the collapse of trade networks in the eastern Mediterranean led to severe economic hardship. The state struggled to pay its workers and maintain its vast infrastructure, leading to widespread discontent and a breakdown of the social contract, as the pharaoh could no longer provide for his people. Labor unrest. The Deir el-Medina strike, where tomb builders protested unpaid wages and food shortages, is a famous example of social unrest. And the breakdown of state authority, unprecedented in earlier periods, showing the desperation of even skilled laborers and the inability of the state to meet its obligations. Tomb robbing. The royal tombs in the Valley of the Kings, once thought impregnable, were systematically plundered by organized gangs, a clear sign of the breakdown of law and order and the desperation of the populace. The mummies of many pharaohs had to be moved multiple times by priests to protect them from desecration, eventually being hidden in secret caches. A sad and ignominious end for once divine rulers. Rise of priestly power, the high priests of Amun at Thebes accumulated immense wealth and political influence, effectively becoming co-rulers in Upper Egypt, often rivaling the pharaoh's authority. They controlled vast estates and resources, further decentralizing power and contributing to the fragmentation of the state, creating a de facto religious state in the south, a challenge to the traditional unified monarchy. By the end of the 20th dynasty, Egypt was once again fragmented. The high priests of Amun controlled Upper Egypt, while a new line of pharaohs, often of Libyan descent, ruled from the delta. The glorious age of empire had come to an end, ushering in a new period of division and foreign influence, known as the Third Intermediate Period, a testament to the cyclical nature of Egyptian history, where periods of unity were often followed by fragmentation and external pressures. The late period of ancient Egypt, spanning dynasties 21 through 31, is a complex and often turbulent era marked by political fragmentation, foreign domination, and intermittent periods of native Egyptian resurgence. It was a time when Egypt, once the dominant power in the Near East, became a prize for larger emerging empires, including the Assyrians, Persians, and eventually the Greeks, each seeking to control its immense wealth and strategic location, a pawn in a larger geopolitical game, no longer the master of its own destiny. The 21st dynasty, from approximately 1070 to 945 BCE, saw Egypt effectively divided. The 21st dynasty ruled from Tanis in the Delta, controlling Lower Egypt. Simultaneously, the high priests of Amun at Thebes held de facto control over Upper Egypt, often acting as independent rulers, maintaining their own armies and administrative structures, creating a dual monarchy, one secular, one religious. While there was a nominal recognition of the Tanite pharaohs, real power was decentralized. This period saw a continuation of tomb robbing and a general decline in monumental building as resources were scarce and political stability elusive. The focus shifted from grand royal tombs to more modest burials, often reusing older sarcophagi, reflecting the diminished resources and power of the rulers and the changing funerary landscape. The 22nd dynasty, from approximately 945 to 715 BCE, was founded by Shoshenq, a powerful Libyan chieftain who had served in the Egyptian army and established a strong power base in the Delta. He established a new line of pharaohs, ruling from Bubastis in the Delta. These Libyan pharaohs attempted to restore Egypt's former glory, even campaigning in the Levant. Shoshenq I is often identified with the biblical Shishak, who sacked Jerusalem, a rare direct link between Egyptian and biblical history, providing external corroboration. However, their rule was often challenged by rival Libyan factions and local dynasts, leading to further fragmentation and the emergence of multiple competing rulers within Egypt, a period sometimes referred to as the Libyan Anarchy, a chaotic patchwork of small kingdoms vying for control, further weakening the land. Dynasties 23 to 24, from approximately 818 to 715 BCE, represent a period of extreme political fragmentation, often referred to as the period of the 24 dynasties by some scholars, as multiple kings ruled concurrently in different parts of Egypt, each claiming pharaonic titles, further diluting the concept of unified rule and making Egypt ripe for conquest. This internal weakness made Egypt highly vulnerable to external powers, particularly the rising empire to its south, which would soon sweep over the land, bringing a new kind of foreign rule, one that would be both a challenge and a surprising source of revival. From the south, a powerful kingdom had emerged in Nubia, Kush, centered at Napata. These Nubian rulers, deeply reverent of Egyptian culture and religion, saw themselves as the true inheritors and guardians of pharaonic tradition, believing they were restoring Ma'at to Egypt, which they saw as having fallen into disarray. Piye, the first great Kushite king, launched a campaign to reunify Egypt, conquering the Delta and establishing the 25th dynasty. Ruling from approximately 747 to 656 BCE. His successors, Shabaka, Shebitku, and Taharka, ruled over a vast empire that stretched from Nubia to the Mediterranean. They initiated a period of cultural revival, building temples in the traditional Egyptian style, such as at Karnak and Medinet Habu, and attempting to restore the glory of the Old and Middle Kingdoms, even adopting pyramid burial for themselves. In Nubia, a practice long abandoned by Egyptian pharaohs, demonstrating their deep respect for ancient traditions. This period is often seen as a Black Pharaoh's Renaissance, where Egyptian traditions were revitalized by foreign rulers who genuinely admired and sought to preserve them, a fascinating twist of fate. However, their rule brought them into direct conflict with the rising power of the Neo-Assyrian Empire, a formidable military machine from Mesopotamia, known for its brutal efficiency and relentless expansion. The Assyrians under Esarhaddon and later Ashurbanipal invaded Egypt multiple times, clashing fiercely with the Nubian pharaohs. In 671 BCE, Esarhaddon of Assyria conquered Memphis, driving out Taharka. His successor, Ashurbanipal, sacked the ancient and sacred city of Thebes in 664 BCE, a devastating blow that effectively ended Nubian rule over Egypt and marked a low point for Egyptian independence as the city was plundered and its temples desecrated, a truly traumatic event for the Egyptians, recorded in vivid detail in Assyrian annals. The Assyrians installed local Egyptian princes as puppet rulers. One of these, Psamtik I of Sais in the Delta, managed to assert his independence from Assyria as the Assyrian Empire began to decline due to internal strife and external pressures. He founded the 26th dynasty, known as the Site dynasty, ruling from approximately 664 to 525 BCE. This period saw a remarkable Site renaissance, a conscious and deliberate effort to revive the artistic and cultural styles of the Old Kingdom, reflecting a longing for a glorious past and a desire to reestablish a strong, unified Egyptian identity. Psamtik III and his successors, Necho, Psamtik II, Apries, and Amasis, brought a period of relative stability and prosperity. They engaged in extensive trade with the Greeks and Phoenicians, establishing trading posts like Naucratis in the Delta, which became a major hub for Greek merchants and mercenaries, introducing new cultural influences and technologies. They even attempted to dig a canal connecting the Nile to the Red Sea, foreshadowing the Suez Canal, demonstrating their ambition and engineering capabilities. They employed Greek mercenaries in their armies, a sign of changing military realities, and Egypt's increasing reliance on foreign military expertise to maintain its independence, a pragmatic but ultimately telling shift in military strategy. The Scythe dynasty's independence was short-lived. In 525 BCE, the mighty Persian Achaemenid Empire under Cambyses II conquered Egypt after the decisive Battle of Pelusium, where the Persians famously used cats as a psychological weapon, knowing the Egyptians revered them, a clever and cruel tactic that exploited Egyptian religious beliefs. Egypt became a satrapy, province, of the vast Persian Empire. The Persian kings, including Cambyses, Darius I, and Xerxes Pharaohs, were recognized as pharaohs, forming the 27th dynasty, 525-404 BCE. While they generally respected Egyptian customs and supported some temple building, their rule was often seen as oppressive, particularly their heavy taxation and occasional desecration of temples, leading to resentment among the Egyptian populace and frequent rebellions, as the Egyptians chafed under foreign rule. After a period of rebellion and Persian weakness, Egypt regained its independence from Persia, ruled by a succession of native Egyptian dynasties, the 28th, 29th, and 30th dynasties, from approximately 404 to 343 BCE. These were periods of renewed, albeit fragile, independence, as Egypt constantly had to defend itself against renewed Persian attempts at reconquest. Nectanebo I and Nectanebo II of the 30th dynasty were particularly active builders, attempting to restore temples and fortify Egypt against renewed Persian threats, representing a final flicker of indigenous rule before the arrival of a new, powerful force that would change Egypt forever, a last stand for native Egyptian sovereignty. The Persians, under Artaxerxes III, reconquered Egypt in 343 BCE, re-establishing their rule for a brief but brutal period, forming the 31st dynasty, 343-332 BC. This second Persian domination was even more oppressive than the first, marked by destruction and heavy taxation, further alienating the Egyptian populace and making them receptive to any potential liberator, setting the stage for the arrival of a figure who would reshape the entire ancient world and usher in a new era for Egypt. The arrival of Alexander the Great in 332 BCE marked a dramatic turning point in Egyptian history, bringing an end to millennia of native or Near Eastern rule and ushering in a new era of Hellenistic influence that would profoundly shape the country for centuries. Alexander, having conquered the Persian Empire, was welcomed by the Egyptians as a liberator from Persian oppression, a savior from their hated overlords. He visited Memphis, paid homage to the Egyptian gods, and was crowned pharaoh in a traditional Egyptian ceremony, presenting himself as a legitimate successor to the ancient kings and a divine ruler, shrewdly adopting local customs to gain legitimacy and win the hearts of the populace. Crucially, he founded the city of Alexandria on the Mediterranean coast, strategically located at the mouth of the Nile. Alexandria would become the new capital of Egypt and a vibrant center of Hellenistic culture, trade, and learning, eclipsing the ancient cities of Memphis and Thebes in importance and becoming one of the greatest cities of the ancient world, a true cosmopolitan hub that blended Greek and Egyptian influences. After his brief but impactful stay, Alexander continued his conquests, leaving Egypt under the command of one of his most trusted generals, Ptolemy. Upon Alexander's sudden death in 323 BCE, his vast empire was divided among his generals, known as the Diadochi, who carved up the conquered lands. Ptolemy Soter, Ptolemy Fiffer, eventually declared himself king of Egypt in 305 BCE, establishing the Ptolemaic dynasty, a line of Greek rulers who would govern Egypt for nearly 3 centuries. The Ptolemies, though ethnically Greek, Macedonian, adopted many aspects of Egyptian kingship to legitimize their rule in the eyes of the native population. They were crowned pharaohs in traditional Egyptian ceremonies, built magnificent temples to Egyptian gods, often in a grand traditional style, such as the well-preserved temples at Edfu, Dendera, and Philae, which showcase a blend of Egyptian and Hellenistic architectural elements, a unique fusion of styles, and supported the Egyptian priesthood, recognizing their influence and power. They also promoted a syncretic religion, blending Greek and Egyptian deities, most notably the creation of Serapis, a god combining aspects of Osiris and Apis with Zeus and Hades, intended to appeal to both Greek and Egyptian subjects and foster religious unity, a clever attempt at cultural integration. However, the Ptolemaic court remained distinctly Greek. Greek was the language of administration, law, and high culture. Alexandria became a beacon of Hellenistic culture, a cosmopolitan metropolis. The city boasted the legendary Library of Alexandria, the largest and most renowned library of the ancient world, housing hundreds of thousands of scrolls and attracting scholars from across the Mediterranean, making it an unparalleled center of knowledge and learning, a true intellectual powerhouse. The Mouseion Museum, a center for scholarly research, fostered advancements in mathematics. Euclid, the father of geometry, astronomy, Eratosthenes, who calculated the Earth's circumference with remarkable accuracy, medicine, Herophilus, who pioneered human dissection, and philosophy. It was a melting pot of cultures, attracting scholars, scientists, and artists from across the Hellenistic world, making Alexandria a rival to Athens in intellectual prestige, a true intellectual powerhouse that drew the brightest minds of the heart. Economically, the Ptolemies exploited Egypt's immense agricultural wealth, particularly its grain production, to fund their lavish court, their powerful military, and their ambitious building projects. They established a highly centralized and efficient bureaucracy to manage the economy, often to the detriment of the native Egyptian population, who bore the brunt of heavy taxation and forced labor. The economy was largely a royal monopoly, with the state controlling most industries and trade, from grain production to papyrus manufacturing, ensuring maximum revenue for the crown, but leading to widespread resentment among the native population. The later Ptolemaic period was marked by increasing internal strife, dynastic rivalries, often involving sibling marriages and assassinations, leading to a complex and often violent succession, and growing interference from the rising power of Rome. The Ptolemies often relied on Roman support to maintain their throne, making them increasingly dependent on the burgeoning superpower, a dangerous game of alliances that ultimately sealed their fate. Rebellions by the native Egyptian population, fueled by economic hardship and cultural alienation, became more frequent, further destabilizing the kingdom and signaling its impending demise, as the Roman shadow loomed larger and larger. The most famous and last of the Ptolemaic rulers was Cleopatra VII Philopator, ruling from 51 to 30 BCE. A brilliant and charismatic queen, she was fluent in several languages, including Egyptian, the only Ptolemaic ruler to learn it, a testament to her political acumen and desire to connect with her subjects, and was a shrewd politician and diplomat. She famously formed alliances with powerful Roman figures, first Julius Caesar and later Mark Antony, using her charm, intellect, and Egypt's immense wealth to secure Egypt's independence and her own position on the throne against Roman annexation. Her relationships with Caesar and Antony were not just personal. They were strategic alliances aimed at protecting Egypt from becoming a Roman province, a desperate gamble for survival. With Caesar's assassination and the subsequent power struggle in Rome between Octavian, Caesar's adopted son, and Mark Antony, Cleopatra sided with Antony, providing him with crucial naval and financial support. Their combined forces faced Octavian's at the decisive Battle of Actium in 31 BCE. Their naval defeat sealed the fate of both Antony and Cleopatra. Facing capture and humiliation by Octavian, who intended to parade her as a captive in his triumph in Rome, Cleopatra chose to commit suicide, traditionally by allowing an ASC, Egyptian cobra, to bite her in 30 BCE. With her death, the Ptolemaic dynasty came to an end, and Egypt was formally annexed as a province of the Roman Empire, marking the definitive end of its independence and the beginning of a new chapter under foreign rule, a tragic end to a glorious lineage. With the death of Cleopatra and the annexation of Egypt, the long and glorious history of independent pharaonic rule came to an end. Egypt became a vital province of the Roman Empire, primarily valued for its immense agricultural wealth, particularly its grain, which was crucial for feeding the burgeoning population of Rome and its legions, earning it the moniker the breadbasket of the empire. This economic importance meant Egypt was treated differently from other provinces. Under Roman rule, Egypt was governed directly by a Roman prefect appointed by the emperor, rather than by the Senate, reflecting its strategic importance and the emperor's desire to control its resources directly, preventing any senator from gaining too much power from its wealth. Roman emperors viewed Egypt as their personal domain. The Romans largely maintained the existing administrative structures, but they replaced the Greek elite with Roman officials. While the Romans continued to build temples in the traditional Egyptian style, often depicting the Roman emperors as pharaohs, such as at the Temple of Dendor or the Temple of Kalabsha. This was largely a pragmatic gesture to maintain order and appease the local populace and priesthoods, rather than a genuine adoption of Egyptian culture. The focus of power and cultural innovation had definitively shifted to Rome, and Egypt became a provincial outpost rather than a center of power. Its glory now a shadow of its former self, its ancient traditions slowly fading. Egyptian grain continued to flow to Rome, making Egypt the breadbasket of the empire. Roman garrisons were stationed throughout the country to maintain order and suppress any rebellions, which were often met with brutal force. The Roman period saw some economic development, particularly in infrastructure like roads and canals. But the native Egyptian population remained largely exploited, bearing the burden of heavy taxation and forced labor, leading to continued resentment and occasional uprisings, though none were successful in restoring independence. Culturally, the Roman period saw a gradual decline in traditional Egyptian practices. While some religious traditions persisted, the influence of Greco-Roman culture became increasingly dominant. The use of hieroglyphs slowly faded, replaced by Demotic, a cursive form of Egyptian, and later Coptic, a form of Egyptian written with Greek letters, which became the language of the Christian church in Egypt. Christianity began to spread in Egypt in the 1st century CE, gaining significant traction by the 3rd and 4th centuries, particularly among the native Egyptian population, who found solace in its message of equality and salvation, a stark contrast to the rigid hierarchies of the past. The rise of Christianity led to the decline and eventual suppression of the ancient Egyptian polytheistic religion, with temples being converted into churches or falling into ruin, and the persecution of pagan practices. The last known hieroglyphic inscription dates to 394 CE, found at the Temple of Philae, marking the final demise of this ancient writing system and the end of a continuous tradition spanning over 3 millennia, a poignant moment in history. As the voices of the pharaohs fell silent, the Roman Empire eventually split, and Egypt became part of the Eastern Roman Byzantine Empire. Its strategic location and agricultural wealth continued to make it a valuable possession, but it was increasingly distant from the centers of power in Constantinople. However, by the 7th century CE, a new power emerged from the Arabian Peninsula, driven by the nascent religion of Islam, which would sweep across the Middle East and North Africa, fundamentally altering the geopolitical landscape. In 641 CE, the Rashidun Caliphate, under the command of Amr ibn al-As, conquered Egypt from the Byzantines, a relatively swift conquest due to Byzantine weakness and local discontent. This conquest marked the definitive end of the ancient Egyptian civilization as a distinct cultural and political entity. While the land and its people endured, the language, religion, and political structures that had defined ancient Egypt for over 3 millennia were finally replaced by those of the Islamic world, ushering in a new chapter in Egypt's long and storied history, one that continues to this day, a testament to the ever-changing tides of human civilization and the enduring spirit of a land that has witnessed so much. And so, my friend, our 2-hour journey through the history of ancient Egypt concludes. From the earliest settlements along the Nile, through the unification of the two lands, the grandeur of the pyramids, the might of the New Kingdom Empire, the periods of fragmentation and foreign rule, and its eventual absorption into larger empires, Egypt's story is one of remarkable resilience, innovation, and profound cultural impact. It is a story of human ambition, divine aspiration, and the relentless march of time. Though its pharaohs are long gone and its ancient gods no longer worshipped, the legacy of ancient Egypt continues to fascinate and inspire. Its monumental architecture, from the awe-inspiring pyramids of Giza, standing as eternal mountains of stone defying time and gravity, to the colossal temples of Karnak and Luxor, with their towering pylons and hypostyle halls adorned with intricate reliefs and vibrant colors, stands as an eternal testament to human ingenuity, organizational prowess, and artistic ambition. Its art, with its distinctive style, symbolic richness, and vibrant colors, continues to captivate and inform our understanding of their world, from the serene beauty of Nefertiti's bust to the intricate details of tomb paintings, each telling a story of life, death, and the eternal. Its religious beliefs, particularly the elaborate concept of the afterlife, the journey through the Duat, the judgment of the soul by Osiris, and the intricate rituals of mummification, offer a unique window into a profound worldview that shaped every aspect of their lives, from daily conduct to monumental construction, a deep spiritual connection to eternity and the cosmos. Its advancements in mathematics, evidenced by the Rind Papyrus, showcasing their understanding of fractions and geometry, crucial for construction and administration. Medicine, with detailed medical papyri describing surgical procedures, remedies, and anatomical knowledge demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of the human body. Astronomy, leading to a sophisticated calendar that influenced our own based on the predictable flooding of the Nile and the heliacal rising of Sirius. And writing, hieroglyphs, a system of unparalleled beauty and complexity, later deciphered by the Rosetta Stone, unlocking their secrets for the modern world, laid crucial foundations for future civilizations, demonstrating their intellectual prowess and practical ingenuity, their contributions echoing through the ages, the very concept of kingship, the development of a centralized state, the power of bureaucracy, the enduring human quest for immortality, and the intricate relationship between humanity and the divine. All these were profoundly shaped by the ancient Egyptians. Their story is a reminder of the cyclical nature of history, periods of rise and fall, innovation and decline, unity and fragmentation. Yet, through it all, the spirit of Egypt, nurtured by the timeless Nile, endured for an astonishing span of human history, leaving behind a legacy that continues to resonate in our modern world, influencing art, architecture, literature, and our collective imagination. A testament to the enduring power of human civilization and the timeless allure of the land of the pharaohs. Thank you for joining me on this extensive exploration. I hope you found this detailed journey through ancient Egypt as captivating as I do. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something new, if you felt transported to this incredible past, please remember to like it, share it with fellow history enthusiasts, And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the annals of human civilization. Your support is invaluable in bringing these stories to life, allowing us to continue our shared exploration of the past. Until next time, keep exploring the past, for it holds the keys to understanding our present and shaping our future.